I'm getting out of this city and I'm going down the line. I hear an overdriven guitar with the engine hums, and the beating of the sleepers is the sound of the drums. I hear the whistle blowing, chills run down my spine. I'm getting out of this city and I'm going down the line.
G'day, I'm Scott McGregor. Welcome to my adventures down the line, and welcome to the fantastic South Island of New Zealand.
New Zealand, the first country in the world to see the sun rise every day. And on the South Island, it rises on a rugged and spectacular landscape. Mountains that have become the destination of the thrill seeker, the nature lover, and the railway adventurer like me. Those mountains were a real challenge to the pioneering railway builders, but they created some of the most remarkable journeys on the planet. The Southern Alps are just one facet of the South Island, a place that seems to reflect a very special character, something I like to call New Zealandana.
Some routes, like this one here, hug the coast to avoid the mountains. Others had no choice but to go over them or through them to service the farming communities and gold miners that needed access to the ports on the coast. And there's some great scenery on these lines. And I thought, what better way to start this adventure than on a train?
This is the Transcoastal that runs from Picton, where it meets the ferry from the North Island, down to Christchurch.
The route takes us between the rugged Pacific coastline and the dramatic Kaikoura Mountains that rise spectacularly from the narrow coastal plain here. It took over 80 years to complete this line, from 1864 right through to 1945, which makes it the longest railway project in the history of New Zealand. And thank goodness they did finish it, because look what we've got here today.
Because New Zealand's such a mountainous country, there's lots of rivers running down to the coast. That means bridges. On this 350-kilometre line, there's 175 of them. And this one here's a beauty, a double-decker across the Aratiri River.
And 21 tunnels. Don't forget your tunnel etiquette before you go into the tunnel.
The line took so long to build because the government couldn't decide whether it should run inland first or along the coast. Eventually, they decided on the coastal route. Then in the 1900s, construction was held up by the two world wars and the 1930s depression. Finally, the last spike was driven in at this little place, Kaikoura, and the line was finished.
Now, it's definitely worth a stop over here, because the old station building has been given a new lease of life.
It's now the headquarters of Whale Watch, a Maori-owned tour company.
What a trip. From a train station to a whale station. Not bad.
100 years ago, Kaikoura was a whaling station. Now, instead of hunting them, it's the perfect place to watch them and all the other creatures that inhabit the East Coast. Meet my mate Thomas Cow from Whale Watch. Thomas's people came to the Kaikoura area over 900 years ago in search of food and new places to live.
Slowing down, Thomas. Where are we coming into, mate?
They certainly found what they were looking for, because not only was the land teeming with wildlife, but the waters along the coast were rich in all kinds of marine life, including dolphins and seals. But it's the whales that are the big draw card here. They're in the area practically all year round. It wasn't long before we started sighting them.
There she blows!
Just like a big submarine. So he's spending, the next 5 minutes on here just recharging the system for the next dive.
Like catching his breath.
Virtually.
And then when he dives, how long does he go down for?
They normally dive around here for about 45, 50 minutes. They can stay under the water for a maximum of about 2 hours.
These are young male sperm whales that have been kicked out of their family groups because they got a bit too frisky with the females. They come here to feed and grow up, and they stay in the area for around 10 to 15 years. So what's the significance of the whales to the Maori?
Well, basically, they were considered an atua. An atua is like a demigod. They were held in high respect. They were considered an animal of greater significance to Māori. Well, there he goes. He's about to dive now.
I see.
Bro.
There he goes. Oh, it's fantastic. I could stay here and admire these creatures all day. Time to get back on the Transcoastal and head south to the next stopover, the Weka Pass Railway, home to the other giant I was telling you about. Well, she's a pretty magnificent beast, this one, Christine.
It was built in 1909.
Christine Reichfeld is a volunteer guard at Weka Pass. And if she's not clipping tickets, she's looking for the next chance to ride the footplate on A428. So she's definitely queen of the line here.
Oh, absolutely. She's definitely queen of the tracks here. Yes, and we're due to get her hooked up with the carriages. So if you'd like a ride to the station, then hop on in.
A428 was built in 1909 for the North Island Limited. But she ended up here on the South Island in 1969. When the Weka Pass was formed in the early 1980s, they bought her and restored her. Now she runs along their line from Glenmark Station to Waikauri. And look at that, right next door to the station today, a whole paddock full of New Zealandana. Why do people drive trains? And why do people restore tractors and old farm machinery? Why do people dress up? I don't know, but gee, it's fun. And that's what the Waipara Vintage Festival is all about. To these people, there's nothing like getting out on a Saturday afternoon and cutting a bit of chaff. Mate, you look the part in your garb, you look great. Look at this, all belt driven. The old chaff cutter. She's a beauty.
Isn't she?
These were the days when you needed manpower to keep the operation going.
And woman power. There's a woman over there too.
Oh, there's a woman too. Oh,
That's right. Terribly important.
Maybe it's time I got on board. Weka Pass Railway runs along the old Waiu branch line, up as far as Waikari. It opened in 1882 and closed in 1978, having the sad distinction of being the last branch line in the province of Canterbury. But the remaining part of the line has been put to excellent use. It's a good track with lots of interesting countryside to look at.
She's probably one of the best dog trainers around, and
Absolutely amazing.
Neil's wife, Margaret, she does a bit of dog trialling. In fact, Neil met her when he was judging a trial down here many years ago, and Margie was timekeeping. I'm not sure if he got the result right at the end of the day because the windows were getting pretty steamed up.
Good. Gee, she does a nice turn of speed, doesn't she? Okay. Works beautifully. But I soon discovered that Christine's passions aren't only for steam.
Oh, look, Scott, look at this lovely little baby Austin. Isn't she gorgeous? Look at the wee window and the wee wiper.
Wee window. I
Wiper.
mean, the Austin's great. I mean, it's sweet. But what about the beautiful Rolls Royce? What do you like about Austin so much?
Not a patch on this dear little Austin. It's so cute.
They said that Wecker Pass would make this engine work hard. I didn't realise it needed coal all the time. There you go, guys. That's a lonely job. Waikari Station, end of the line for the Wecker Pass Railway. And it's so often the case here in New Zealand, you get off the train to something like this. The spectacular Southern Alps. And what better way to finish off a heady day like this than with a grand parade. And wouldn't you know it, Christine's a bit partial to a good-looking tractor too. Christine, look at this.
Oh, let's take it for a ride.
I'll tell you what, it's alive.
Wow, this is wonderful. Yeah, gosh, she's pretty jumpy, isn't she? Very different from A428. Wow.
No doubt about you, Christine. You're a slave to a good machine. Christine, come back! Come back! Well, we're only about an hour out of Christchurch now. I tell you, I'm getting pretty excited because in a few days' time there's a very special train trip leaving from Christchurch, heading up over Arthur's Pass, hauled by steam, and we're going to be on it. But in the meantime, don't worry, we've got heaps to do. Christchurch is the most English of all New Zealand cities. Settled in 1850 as a model of class-structured England in the far-flung South Pacific, the city fathers chose to build churches instead of pubs and grow rich on the wool from the sheep that grazed on the nearby Canterbury Plain. And what could be more English than this? Punting on the picturesque Avon River, right in the middle of the city. Ben Lander happily punts people up and down the river in true Oxford tradition. Very gentle. You're right, it's really quite stable.
Oh, yeah. Well, until you do this.
I was soon to find out that underneath that studious exterior, Ben was a bit of a devil. Pull your head in, Ben. Oh. He's done that before, the smart aleck. I'm not sure if I'm in such good hands. There's nothing, with old Benjamin. Absolutely nothing, half so worth doing as simply messing about in boats. Simply messing. Well, that's what Kenneth Grahame wrote in his book Wind in the Willows. And right now, I have to agree with him. A punt is a traditional flat-bottom boat from Oxford or Cambridge in England. Isn't that right, Ben?
Oh, yes, yes. It's, yeah.
And a punter is the guy who does all the hard work while I sit back and enjoy the beautiful botanical gardens here in Christchurch. But in true McGregor form, I couldn't sit still for long. I just had to have a go.
If it does get stuck, be sure and let go of it. That's the only rule.
Why? Am I likely to go overboard, am I?
Well, it has happened.
Look out, mate, I've got my learner plates on.
And now swing it while it's in the water. That's it.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
Ben, I know what's wrong. Give me your hat.
Oh, sure. Oh, no. Oh,
Come on,
Lord,
put the hat
no,
on,
no.
mate. It's only been around New Zealand and everywhere else.
Probably come down with some awful skin disease. And mind those ducklings, mate. Yeah, mate.
So are you a Christchurch boy?
Be a nice place to grow up, mate. It's a lovely city.
Oh yeah, I mean, I fell in the river a few times when I was a kid. I was chasing the ducks, and actually nothing's changed. I still fall in the river, I still chase ducks.
You just sit back and relax, old chum.
Are you sure, Scotty?
I'll do all the work.
Are you sure, mate?
Bridge coming up.
Time to head south now. I want to get to Dunedin, and for me, that means hitching a ride in a freighter. You see, at the moment, there are no passenger trains. Now, this shouldn't be too much of a problem. If only I can get this bloke to stop.
Sweet ass. We're away. Yeah, welcome aboard, nice boys.
Dunedin. And if Christchurch is an English city, then Dunedin is definitely a Scottish one. It was founded by Scots immigrants in 1848, and I feel at home here already. Why, I can even partake of that famous Scots delicacy, the haggis, if I care to. This is a traditional Dunedin welcome,
Say haggis?
presided over here by
Haggis.
Mal Ryan.
Not much of a smile for that, eh?
It's a celebration of that peculiar Scottish delicacy, the haggis, which is kind of like an oatmeal and lamb pate encased in a sheep's stomach.
Is it not a beauty?
Yum.
Fair makes your mouth water just looking at it, doesn't it?
Of course, the great champion of the haggis was the Scottish bard Robbie Burns, who even wrote an address to it because he saw the haggis as a symbol of Scottish identity and national pride.
His knife, see rustic labour dick, and cuts ye up with ready slick, trenching your gushing entrails brick like ony ditch, and then, oh, what a glorious sight! So,
Right.
there you go, Scott. Have a wee
Okay.
whiskey to wash it out. That's the stuff.
Oh, it's an acquired taste, isn't it?
You think so?
Now I know why they have the whiskey.
Slanchevore. Slanchevore.
By 1860, Dunedin had become very wealthy through the gold discovered in the Otago hinterland. In fact, it became New Zealand's commercial capital.
And testament to that wealth is the magnificent Dunedin railway station.
A true cathedral to the Industrial Revolution. Completed in 1906, it was and still is the finest railway station in New Zealand, earning its designer, George Troop, a knighthood. What I really like about this old station is that it's the departure point for the Tyree Gorge Railway. It's going to take us west into Big Sky country, the Central Otago.
If you're expecting more green hills and lush farming country up here in the Otago, forget it. It's a very steep and rugged landscape. And this journey's just as much of an adventure now as it was back in 1879 when this line began.
The Tyree Gorge Railway is part of the old Otago Central Railway. Most of the track has been pulled up, except for the 40 miles or so we're travelling on now, from Dunedin Station up to Middlemarch. But when the line was in full swing, it played a major part in the development of the Central Otago. Thousands of tonnes of farm produce and hundreds of thousands of head of livestock were railed yearly to Dunedin and all points north. Leela and Don Graham own Lamb Hill Station and have lived up here in the high country all their lives.
Yes, we have.
Once the railway was their only lifeline to the outside world. Everything they needed to bring in or ship out came by rail.
It was very sad to watch the sleepers coming down the train when it was being pulled up.
Oh, so as they dismantled the line,
Absolutely, yeah.
it's pretty...
Very sad to see it coming down.
Right. He's got a pretty impressive beard, hasn't he?
Do you think so?
What, don't you?
Not really.
Really? Careful, mate. She sounds like she might get the hedge clippers out one day.
It's a possibility.
Yeah. Looks like we're getting close to Pukerangi Station, which is the end of the line for this train, due to track maintenance. To get myself further up the line, I'm going to have to be a bit inventive. Middle of nowhere here. There's a high rail. Looks promising.
Looks like we got a visitor, mate.
G'day, fellas.
How's it going?
Oh, all right. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, good.
Hey, you're not going through the middle, aren't you?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah? Any chance of a lift?
Yeah, no worries. Jump in.
Oh, look, I'm happy to pitch in if you need
Yeah,
anything
let's
done.
go.
No problem. So, I guess things are busy up here. You've got a fair bit of line to look after.
Oh, yep.
My companions, Dave and Gary, are part of the Tyree Gorge track gang.
Keep your hands on the wheel, Gary.
Oh, no, not
They're not exactly the types that would talk underwater. Still, they seem good enough sort of blokes. I'm very glad of the lift.
Oh, this is great, guys.
That's all right, mate. No worries.
Easy way to go down the line in a high rail, eh?
Yeah.
Beats walking, doesn't it?
Oh, sure does. Yeah, right there. You guys would know this bit of track like the back of your hands, wouldn't you?
Yeah, yep. Certainly do.
Right. Good.
Looks like they're going to take me up on my offer to pay my way.
Right. Right there, Scott.
What have we got going here?
This is what we're going to do, mate.
Okay.
You ready to handle one of these?
What have you got there?
High-tech tool, mate.
Fairly primitive.
Yep.
All right.
You'll
Just
handle
a
it.
thing.
My
Yeah.
job is to replace the bolts on some track
We're gonna
plates,
replace
which
these bolts.
tend to wear out over
Take the old
time.
plates off, slam a bit of grease on,
Right.
new bolts, and
Grease, bolts, new plates.
get into it.
It's all yours.
Okay, mate.
All right?
No problem at all. No problem at all.
So you'll be finished in 5 minutes.
Yeah, no worries. Sure. Haven't seen one of these for a while. I tell you what, using this whole thing's taking the history a bit too far.
How's it going there, Scott?
What's that?
Bit of modern technology, eh?
You guys!
Stand aside, mate. We'll show you how Kiwi does it.
That's it.
I think I've just been had.
Toys out
I'm
the
going to
cot.
leave you to it now, mate.
Yeah, chuck the
These
toys out the
blokes
cot,
did
mate.
have some modern toys after all. I think I've just had some first-hand experience of that friendly rivalry that's supposed to exist between Aussies and Kiwis. Well, that's one up for them, I guess.
Oh, that's great, guys.
That's all right.
Thanks,
mate. Sweet.
I'll be hoofing it from here. See you
Catch you
later.
later.
Good on you.
Hey, Scott. Nice working with you, mate.
Good on you.
Sweet as.
See you later.
Sweet as. Well, that's a badge of acceptance if ever I heard one.
He's not a bad fella, that.
We're on the Otago Central Rail Trail, which has been created from the remains of the old railway. From here at Middlemarch through to Clyde, it's a distance of 150 kilometres.
You can walk along it, you can ride a bike along it, you can ride a horse along it. They even hold races along here. The only thing you can't do anymore is catch a train along it. But it's well worth the effort, because being an old track bed, it's very gently graded and slightly elevated. So, you're in the box seat for this magnificent countryside.
This cutting has seen a